Is America forecast in Bible prophecy? Occupying Till He Comes at Southwest Prophecy Ministries.
Welcome, friends. This is Dane Rome, your announcer for today's Last Days Beacon program. Thanks for listening, and thanks again for joining us. Just a reminder that these programs are supported by your gifts to this ministry. If you'd like to contribute to this ongoing faith ministry, which deals with Bible prophecy and current events, simply go to our website to contribute. Our website address is www.swpm.us. You'll find a donate link on the homepage. The website address again is www.swpm.us. Thank you for your prayers and support for this faith ministry. On today's program, Dr. Snicker interviews Paul Dinger, author of the January 2019 Last Days Beacon article entitled America is Forecast in Bible Prophecy, Part 3. Mr. Dinger offers a rebuttal of the recent trend among prophecy teachers who teach that America is not prophesied in the Bible. In these interviews, he discusses specific Bible prophecies of America in the Bible. So let's join Dr. Snicker and Paul Dinger for today's informative message.
Thank you, Dane, and welcome, friends, to our first podcast of 2019. I want to wish each one of you a Happy New Year and trust that your year will be richly blessed of the Lord. Today we begin a series of interviews with Paul Dinger, author of our January 2019 Last Days Beacon article entitled America is Forecast in Bible Prophecy, Part 3. We have been treated in these past months with an extended series by Paul dealing with the question of whether America is forecast in Bible prophecy. If you have been following our podcast, then you're already familiar with some of the basic material underlying this, and these two podcasts will really be the capstone of our series, where we're actually going to be dealing with some of the biblical texts that forecast America in Bible prophecy. Paul is no stranger to our program. He's been on numerous times, but for those who have not heard him before, Paul is a serious student of American history, more relevantly, a serious student of the Bible, and particularly Bible prophecy. He has written several insightful articles for Southwest Prophecy Ministries over the years. Paul is also the founding editor of the Boston Review of the Arts and is a graduate of Gordon Conwell Seminary. Well, Paul, welcome to the program today.
Thank you, David. It is very nice to be with you.
Well, we're going to jump right into your article, which again is entitled America is Forecast in Bible Prophecy, Part 3, subtitled America Seems to Have a Giant Footprint in the Bible. So we're going to be asking some questions both today and next week from the article, just to whet your appetites, friends. If you're not on our mailing list, at the end of the program, our announcer will share how you can get a copy or multiple copies of this article and get on our mailing list as well. But our first question for today, Paul, is that you claim that America is prophesied in the Bible at least 7 times, from Genesis to Revelation. And as you point out in your article, this sounds like something out of those supermarket tabloids. So why should Americans take that claim seriously, that America is prophesied in the Bible? Because as I look at the Bible, I don't see the word America anywhere.
That's very true, David. There's no mention of the word rapture either. But the reason that this sounds so bizarre, that America's forecast in the Bible, is because Americans have been over the 20th century, but particularly over the last 50 years, turned into Bible and history illiterate. Americans don't know the Bible, and they don't know history. History has been hidden from them. Had these articles come out, let's say, even a century ago, they would have been taken seriously. Nobody would have found them bizarre. And for all of American history, from the colonial era up to that time, really into the 1930s even, these would have been taken seriously. And but now, we've had the mass mediums basically mind controlling Americans and misinforming them that the Bible is myths and fairy tales, and nothing could be farther from the truth.
Okay, so we have really a deficit in terms of historical understanding by 21st century Americans, and also a paucity or deficit as it relates to Bible knowledge on the part of Americans, even professing Christians. Well, we hope to...
David, I just want to point to people to there's a number of books out there that kind of chronicle this. There's Redeemer Nation by Ernest Tuvison, The Light and the Glory by Peter Marshall. There's When Time Shall Be No More by Peter Boyer. These are just a few of the books that have come out, history books that have come out since World War II, which have archaeologically resurrected the authentic American history, which shows that had it not been for the colonial belief and the Founding Fathers' belief that America was prophesied in the Bible, there would have been no America. There would have been no American Revolution.
Well, let's begin to correct that deficit. In your article, you deal with seven texts, seven passages that deal with American Bible prophecy. In today's program, let's look at the first four of those prophecies.
Well, the first one, anyone who's interested in seeing this explained in depth should look at the November Last Days Beacon, in which we chronicle how the belief in Daniel's fifth and final empire, prophesied in the second chapter of Daniel, was the basis for the symbolism of both the American flag, the Stars and Stripes, and the Great Seal. I mean, this Daniel's fifth kingdom, the Stone Mountain, is the big, unopposed prophecy of America in the Bible. The other ones are submitted as, the other six are submitted as proposals, but it's, not given as, something written in stone that's come down from on high, but proposals for an evangelical conversation. So the next three are the great nation that God promised Abraham in Genesis 12, the city on a hill that Christ talked about in Matthew 5, verse 14, and then we've got ecclesia, which is the original Greek text name for what we now call church. Let's look at the great nation. Now, the plain fact of history is that Israel has never been a great nation on a scale of the great nations of history. America, on the other hand, is history's great nation that has no competitors. And so the question becomes, well, could God have actually been referring to America? And the answer is both yes and no, but I'll leave it to people to read the January Last Days Beacon to find out why it's yes and no. But there's two words in the original Hebrew text that fit America much better than Israel, and that is Gadol Goy. Gadol Goy are the Hebrew words for great nation. Goy, as a lot of people know, is what Jews call Gentiles, non-Jews. And America is the uber Goy nation of history. It has the unparalleled spectrum of ethnicity. There's no other nation in the world that has such a broad Goy spectrum. So the word Goy fits America much better than Israel. And the word Gadol has a range of meaning, including great, many, loud, of great significance, big, powerful, do great things, and important. So when you put those two terms together, it seems to refer to America more than Israel. But in the millennium of Revelation 20, when Christ is ruling the world, he's doing it from Israel, and Jews are now worshiping him, and at that point, Israel will become the ultimate great nation of history. So then we come to the city on a hill. When Christ used that term, his original audience originally would have seen Zion, and they would have connected it with something in the future. But Christ's words were spoken in a sermon on the ship Arabella by John Winthrop, the leader of the Puritans, who landed in Massachusetts. And Winthrop took Christ's words. You have to remember, they're Christ's words. They're not John Winthrop's words. He basically invoked this term as a prophecy of Christ to America. And interestingly, three some centuries later, two presidents, the most celebrated presidents of the late 20th century, John F. Kennedy and Ronald Reagan, exactly 20 years apart, defied the Supreme Court's separation of church and state ruling by invoking a city on a hill in political speeches, as if it was a divine Christ prophecy of America. And then we come to the word that Christ used for his church, ecclesia. Now, of all the words that he could have chosen, ecclesia is probably the most strange because it's an enormously political word. The word ecclesia was used in Athenian democracy centuries earlier, and what the ecclesia was the called out eligible voters in Greek democracy. And so for Christ to use that very political voting word to define his church, as opposed to, say, the body of Christ, Corpus Christi, we have to assume that he was implying that he meant Christians should present his teachings, his views in public and not to be quarantined in churches. And America basically became the first ecclesia government in history. And that is where people choose their leaders. Up to that point, leaders were historically just handed down to them, kings and queens, and Americans were ruled in a oppressive and tyrannical way most of the time. And so this was a brand new thing, this ecclesian government where you choose your leaders, where the people vote for their leaders. And this changed the world. At the time of the American Revolution, the world was governed by monarchy. And today, the world is governed by the electoral system, and that's a gift of America. to the world.
I think of what Benjamin Franklin was queried after the Declaration of Independence. Someone asked the Venerable Franklin, what kind of government did they invent? And he said, a republic, if you can keep it. So there was an understanding that the American experiment was different than the old world monarchies and tyrannies that many of them had fled. And of course, that is one of the many gifts that America has brought to the world, is electoral government. As imperfect as it is practiced around the world, monarchialism is not the omnipresent form of government as it was before the beginning of the American experiment. Another little interesting side note, there was a book that came out a couple years ago. As I recall, it was by a secular author, and I don't remember his name, but the title of the book was The 5,000 Year Leap. And basically this book detailed how with the founding of America and the freedoms and the entrepreneurial spirit that was unleashed in America, it has basically enabled progress to not just inch forward, but to leap forward, as if it was a 5,000-year leap. So here a secular historian and analyst is basically saying America is a unique nation that has been a blessing to all mankind in every way, in terms of medicine, in terms of technology, of all kinds, in terms of education, culture. The world leaped forward 5,000 years because of history's great nation.
This, David, is kind of a fulfillment. You know, God said to Abraham a number of things, that he would make him into a great nation, but he also said that he would bless the world. What other nation has blessed the world more than America? And just as a side note, God told Abraham to go west. And the history of the Christian church has been Western, and America is the most westerly nation on earth, and westerly land on earth. And you know, when Franklin said, that we've got a republic, there was a book by Mark Knoll, I think it was published in 2002, called God and America, or America's God. And in that, Knoll kind of archaeologically digs up the fact that in the 19th century, republicanism and Christianity, evangelical Christianity, were paired together like they were twins. And John Quincy Adams said famously in a 4th of July speech in the early 19th century that American government is like the civil expression of Christianity. In other words, the civil political expression of Christianity.
It's a very strong statement by really the last of our founding generation. Of course, the son of a great president, a great evangelical fundamental president, John Adams, our second president of the United States. Well, this is all very interesting. We could go on and on, but we want to save some of these nuggets for next time. So that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us, Paul. And friends, please join us next week as we continue to talk with Paul Dinger regarding the January 2019 Last Days Beacon article entitled America is Forecast in Bible Prophecy, Part 3. And now our announcer, Dane Rome, will share how you may obtain a copy of this informative article.
Thank you, Dr. Schnitger. Today, we're offering an excellent article to accompany this series of messages. Our January 2019 Last Days Beacon article is entitled America is Forecast in Bible Prophecy, Part 3. In this article, Paul Dinger explores several Bible prophecies regarding America in the Bible. You may order 5 copies for $5 or 25 copies for $15. Just go to our website, www.swpm.us, and go to our bookstore. Type in the title of the article, America is Forecast in Bible Prophecy, Part 3. The website address again is www.swpm.us. Well, please join us for next week's Last Days Beacon program, brought to you by Southwest Prophecy Ministries. And until then, this is your announcer, Dane Rome. Thanks for listening.